Israel is a small country in the Middle East about the size of New Jersey, located on the eastern shores of Mediterranean Sea and bordered by Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon and Syria. The nation of Israel, with a population of more than 9 million people, most of them Jewish, has many important archaeological and religious sites considered sacred by Jews, Muslims and Christians alike, and a complex history with periods of peace and conflict. Early history of Israel. Much of what scholars know about Israel's ancient history comes from the Hebrew Bible. According to the text, Israel's origin can be traced back to Abraham, who is considered the father of both Judaism and Islam. Abraham's descendants were thought to be enslaved by Egyptians for hundreds of years before settling in Canaan, which is approximately the region of modern-day Israel. The word Israel came from Abraham's grandson Jacob, who was renamed Israel by the Hebrew God in the Bible. King David and King Sulaiman. King David ruled the region around 1000 BC. His son, who became King Sulaiman, is credited with building the first Holy Temple in ancient Jerusalem in about 931 BC. The area was divided into two kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Around 722 BC, the Assyrians invaded and destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel. In 568 BC, the Babylonians conquered Jerusalem and destroyed the first temple, which was replaced by second temple in about 516 BC. For the next several centuries, the land of northern-day Israel was conquered and ruled by various groups, including the Persians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Fatimids, Seljuk Turk, Egyptians, Mamluks, Islamists, and others. The Balfour Declaration. From 1517 to 1917, Israel, along with much of the Middle East, was ruled by Ottoman Empire, but World War I dramatically altered the geographical landscape in the Middle East. In 1970, at height of war, British Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour submitted a letter of intent supporting the establishment of Jewish homeland in Palestine. The British government hoped that the former declaration, known therefore the Balfour Declaration, would encourage support for allies in World War I. When World War I ended in 1918 with an Allied victory, the 400-year Ottoman Empire rule ended and Great Britain took control over what known as Palestine, modern-day Israel, Palestine and Jordan. The Balfour Declaration and British men about all of Israel, but a ceasefire agreement was reached in 1949 as a part of temporary armistice agreement. The West Bank became part of Jordan and Gaza Strip became Egyptian territory. Arab-Israeli conflict. Numerous wars and acts of violence between Arabs and Jews have ended since 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Some of these include 1. Suez Crisis. Relations between Israel and Egypt were rocky in the years following the 1948 war. In 1956, Egyptian President Jamal Abdel Nasser overtook the nationalized the Suez Canal, the important shipping waterway that connects the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. With the help of British and French forces, Israel attacked the Sinai Peninsula and retook the Suez Canal. Number 2. Six-Day War. In what started as a surprise attack, Israel in 1967 defeated Egypt, Jordan and Syria in 6 days. After this brief war, Israel took control of Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, the West Bank and the Golan Heights. These areas were considered occupied by Israel. Number 3. Lebanon War. In 1982, Israel invaded Lebanon and ejected the Palestinian Liberation Organization (PLO). This group, which started in 1964 and declared all Arab citizens living in Palestine up to 1947 to be called Palestinians, focused on creating a Palestinian state within Israel. Hamas War. Israel has been involved in repeated violence with Hamas, a Sunni Islamist militant group that assumed Palestinian power in 2006. Some of more significant conflict took place beginning in 2008, 2012 and 2014. Israel today. Clashes between Israeli and Palestinians are still commonplace. Key territories of land are divided, but some are claimed by both groups. For instance, they both cite Jerusalem as their capital. Both groups blame each other for terror attacks that kill civilians. While Israel does not officially recognize Palestine as a state, more than 135 UN member nations do. Solution. The two-state solution. Several countries have pushed for more peace agreement in recent years. Many have suggested a two-state solution but acknowledge that Israeli and Palestinians are unlikely to settle on border. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has supported a two-state solution but has felt pressure to change his stance. Netanyahu has also been accused of encouraging Jewish settlements in Palestinian area while still backing a two-state solution.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.